just fuel, and the truck is supposed to be here once again. I think that's been announced for the last
year,
8 months. Thank you.
Emailed it to Shane earlier today, but on the off chance it didn't make it to you.
I just didn't know that we could Thank you.
Hey Gary, how's it going?
how's it good? I was trying to read who it was. What time is it?
It's 5:59.
Almost there.
I was going to mention announcements that we've got 4 applications we're going to take conducting the first interview.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring a bunch to you.
Yeah.
I overhear you're not going to be here this time.
I'm not going to be here for the next meeting and actually next 2. Next one I'll be at day camp, and then one after that in December I'll be in Pennsylvania.
At deer camp.
Yeah.
First things first.
So yeah,
I'm going to get mine day one.
if we want to do the interviews, probably either this next week or Thanksgiving week come around.
I got to get somebody on board.
Yeah.
Toronto. It's going to take me hours. So when do you leave?
For deer camp, it's the 15th.
11:15.
I can do any time before that. This week or next week. All right.
Hold on one second.
Put the Dunkin' Donuts.
Bruce, are you good? I'd like to call the Select Board meeting of Monday, November 4th, 2024 to order. Item 2, additions or deletions to the agenda. I see one.
I move to delete from the town officials section of the agenda the Village Wastewater Committee discussion on prioritization of connections to the South Village wastewater system.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Just want to mention that the committee was unable to get a quorum last week where they would have been discussing that, and that's the reason why we're deleting it.
Wasn't that Housing Commission too? Didn't you say that in the email?
Did I say housing? I meant to say wastewater.
I thought you said both in the email. No.
Anything could have happened.
No,
Thanks.
just making sure. Item 3, minutes approval, meeting of 10/21/2024.
I move to approve the minutes of the select board meetings of October 21st, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 4, select board pay orders.
I move to approve the pay orders for payroll and accounts payable.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, announcements and correspondence.
I've got a couple of mine. We received 4 applications for the minute taker position, and the plan at this point is for Tom and myself to interview the candidates and come to the board at the next meeting with the recommended candidate for you all to interview and hopefully hire. In the meantime, I'll be doing the minutes for the next couple of meetings. Our application for V-Trans Structures grant funding for the Windy Rise Lane West culvert was not granted. We didn't expect that it would be, but it's one of those things that if you don't put in, you'll never know. So at least they're familiar with the project. We do have that project on our list under the Rivers program through the HMGP program at Vermont Emergency Management. Everyone who has not voted to date should get out and vote tomorrow. The polls are open from 7 to 7 here at the town hall, excuse me. Correspondence in the meeting packet is, we did get from the Windham County Sheriff's Office their service rates for FY26 in time for our budget preparation, and they are increasing from $54 to $65 an hour. That's a 20% increase, so that's not a great thing. I was contacted by Townsend wanting to maybe jump into the program that we have with Jamaica, so I'll explore that further. We also have a letter from Green Mountain Power regarding the substation on Thompsonburg Road. There's further delays there. And lastly, we have year-to-date financials through July. That's it.
Good.
Was there, you mentioned 11A, I just looked up the email there about deleting the Housing Commission appointment to fill the new position?
I did get an applicant, and I handed it out, it's in front of you.
Okay, so,
Yeah, we do have some.
sorry.
Moving on to item 6, visitors and concerned citizens. 6A is discuss long-term community recovery plan with FEMA Community Assistance Group.
That's us. Sure. Hi, everybody. So I am here tonight with Mark Leese. He is the planner that is on the community assistance team, and he will be working very closely with you and whomever else gets involved on all of the pieces of doing a long-term recovery plan. This is what he has done in many places across the country. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you want me? Do you want me to stand up or you?
That's fine, if you want to stand.
Sure. I think I'm probably more comfortable and I can talk a little louder if I'm standing up. I do have some extras of these things that you guys are willing to share. There's not enough for everybody, but if you can pass those down the line. My name, I'll repeat, I'm going to repeat this. So my name is Mark Leese, and I'm originally an architect, and then my career sort of took a little turn and I went into public planning at one point. Half of my life in the private sector, half in the public sector. But I've done a lot of community planning of all sorts, and really kind of specialize in small town community planning in Colorado. So I live in Denver, and so I've been working for FEMA for several years now, and so I'll go to a place like right now we're both based out of, Williston. That's where the joint field office is, right? And so I'll come out and live here about 5 weeks, go back for a week to see my wife and make sure the house is being maintained, and then I come back for another 5 weeks. And I'll do that for probably about a year down here. So I started coming back and forth in, I think it was in late June. So my sell-by date right now is April, I think, something like that. So we're going to be around for a while. Kelly will probably be around much longer than I am. But so what I do, I specialize in as being part of the community assistance part of FEMA, is work with communities after disaster to develop long-term recovery planning documents. And so I'm going to just dive right in here on this second page of this thing after that sort of cover page. I talk about why, and the real reason to do it is that it gets everybody on the same page about what they want as a vision for the future, and then it spells out how do you get there. And then the last thing that it does, which is really important to me, is that it puts you in good position to compete for grants. So when you put together grant applications, you have all your information collected, you have it all in one place, and you're ready to pour that information into a grant application. And secondly, a hopefully, the select board adopts it as usually like an amendment to your comprehensive plan or whatever you have. However you want to look at it, but at least adopt it and endorse it, because that's just a giant, big letter of support that you can add to a grant application, because these funders, they want to know if you have popular community support for the projects that are being described in this thing. And so that's how you do that. That's a big part of that. So when I talk about the recovery plan and the contents, sort of at a minimum, you want to describe the disaster impacts and the local history, which together with anecdotal, people's lived experience of a disaster as the pretext for the recovery plan. And the recovery plan isn't just about recovery projects. You want to put everything in there that you think is important. It could be recovery, it could be items that have to do with resilience, and it could be anything that has to do with community development. So if, for example, if housing is a long-term issue that hasn't been addressed, this is a good time to fold that into a recovery plan and talk about it. Whatever the big issue is that's been sort of outstanding, that has been sitting out there and doesn't fit in any other box, this is a good time to include it so that it gets some attention, and then hopefully you assign it to somebody to do a grant application or sponsor it in some fashion or something to carry it forward. So, and you identify, in part of the process, you identify a person who's a champion for the project. And then also, who would take primary responsibility for getting it done? And then who are the partners? So those are all things in this item down here. I talked about the impacts and the pretext and the anecdotal evidence, recovery process, and we'll get into that more in a minute. Vision and mission statements, which, as I explained to Kelly today, is really important in my view because it's sort of a compass. If you describe your vision for what the community should look like in 20 years, then when you come up with projects, you can measure whether the project is pointed north or whether it's pointed southwest. And if it's pointed southwest, it shouldn't get the same value and attention as something that's in alignment with the vision that you've talked about. Project descriptions then, and I can show a little bit more detail on that, but you would organize projects in a number of different ways, but the descriptions would include the cost, like I said, the partners that would be involved, funding sources, the time frame, and the priority, and then you can put all that information into a little matrix or an action plan where you can really describe these things in a little short form that helps get everybody on the same page again. On the next page there where it talks about process overview, and I'm suggesting you are here at the point where you would just start the project and describe the context and the disaster and the impacts of it, and then develop a vision and so on, goals, issues, and projects. And what we can do, part of what we offer at FEMA Community Assistance, is technical support, design studies, feasibility studies, cost estimating, cost benefit analyses, which come in very handy with certain grant applications. It's a critical piece. And then create the implementation matrix with indicating the priorities, the timetable, project leads, partners, and funders, and then the recovery plan itself and adoption. And then the last piece there is grant application support. We can do requests for proposals for design or development or whatever, and we can assist with all that. And you formulate your action plans. On the next page here, so like I said, I'm architect and then a planner, so I have drawing skills. And I'm old school, so I just draw stuff. I don't have a CAD drafter in my hip pocket. And so these are all just examples of the kinds of drawings I've done for small communities. These all happen to be in Colorado, because all the ones that I had while I've been doing this for FEMA are bigger cities, and they just didn't seem to be very applicable. But So that's one of the kinds of technical support we can provide. And then the next one, I don't know if we need to get into this so much, but we break things down, the projects, we'll put them in various categories. Community planning, economic, health and social services, housing, infrastructure, and natural and cultural resources. And what this does is just it tells you the coordinating, the primary agency for each one of those categories, and then a column for the funding groups. And then the next little page, it's titled Project and Program Development Guide. And this is a little form that somebody at FEMA developed about 20 years ago. And you don't find it around anymore, but it's really handy. And it just asks all the questions you can possibly think of to ask about a project when you're thinking about it and you're trying to describe it. And it, including the demographics, organizations that might impact the project or the program, obstacles, challenges, the champions for it, who would the stakeholder group be, what are the benefits, all that kind of stuff. So that thing I think is really handy. I really like it. The last little piece here then is just thinking ahead about how to organize the information, community planning, housing, and I've already talked about these. And then also for each project you can characterize it in terms of its priority, whether it's a flood recovery project, a disaster resilience project, or community development project. And I was talking when Kelly and I were talking earlier today, it's useful to make a distinction between recovery projects and resilience projects. Recovery project is like if you had a flat tire, the first thing you do is put a new tire on it. That's recovery. But resilience would be if you say, in the future we're not going to drive through a bed of nails, or we're going to get a puncture-proof tire or something like that, that in order to prevent you from, busting a tire in the first place in the future. So that's the difference. And then community development projects is basically anything else that doesn't fit in those two categories. Something that has been hanging around that you'd like to do for a long time, and this is an opportunity to shine a light on it. Do you have any questions for me?
I guess my only question is, what's the best way to start? Organize a committee?
Perfect.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, that's the question Kelly was poking at me earlier today. So I was thinking about and tested it out on Kelly, and I think I have a proposal that then you can think about it and modify it, whatever you want to do. But right now, my thinking is with the size community and the size of the meetings that you could expect to have, the way I would propose to do it would be to first set up a steering committee with maybe a dozen people. And I'm of the opinion that Kelly and you guys and a couple other people would know who should be on that committee. You want reasonable people. That's my bottom line. They need to be reasonable and be able to work together. That helps an awful lot to keep it smooth and smooth sailing for the whole thing. Then you and get them to agree to meet maybe every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, something like that, over a time period. I'm going to suggest 6 to 8 months as a time frame to get this done. And during that time,
From start to finish, 6 to 8 months.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
Start to finish. And then during that time, you might have 2 or 3 public meetings. And the way I am imagining that is the first one would be a big community meeting where you get maybe 100 to 200 people together, and you ask them to tell you all of their issues and their desires and their wants and their vision stuff. And you write it all down, and then you compile all that information, and you thank them, and then at the second meeting is once you have a draft. And I'm thinking that one, instead of a speaker and audience kind of thing, it's more like an open house where you set up display boards, exhibits, and you walk through it. And then you have people like me and Kelly to answer questions. And that would work really well, I think, for that kind of second meeting. And then the third meeting, in my view, would be the meeting where the whole thing, the final thing is presented to you folks, and the whole community is invited to a presentation. And then wild applause. So that's my vision for how that process would go. And if you have, better ideas, I'm open to it. So.
No, that sounds good to me.
Is that something that could be done at town meeting, or would it be a special hearing or something separate?
Probably be a special meeting, I would assume.
Yeah, I would say. I think town meeting, while there could be some sort of presentation by members of the committee or something at town meeting, there's no way that we'll have a finished product by March.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
timing of it,
No
I guess.
No.
Well, and I was just thinking of even presenting the whole idea on the forefront even, but there's enough time to get started before then, so the
Yeah, I
timing
would
of it
not
would
wait that long.
Right.
too far out to finish and,
Yeah,
or too close to finish, or too far out to
yeah,
wait to get started.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, forming a committee and getting started on the planning of the planning process, you could do as quickly as you.
But that'd probably take a month to nail it all down,
Yeah.
I guess.
How does all this, Kelly would know about it, relate to the North Dairy and South Dairy reimagining committees? We're working on kind of a similar thing, but maybe not quite as extensive.
Master planning committees?
Yeah, those are not our choices to make. Those are Londonderry's choices to make. So
Maybe
they can
somebody
be as
from that
integrated or as,
committee could be on the steering committee. or
Maybe
something.
consider looking at our reports when you do, well, hopefully, whatever the steering committee decides, I guess.
right,
Right.
again, not
Yeah.
our
Not your
choices.
guys.
Yep.
And you're just here to help us
Yes.
through the process, not
Yes,
determine what we do.
yes,
Tom, that raises a point that I find myself having to repeat quite a bit. It's not FEMA's recovery plan, it's the community's recovery plan. Kelly and I are just here to assist,
Yep.
pure and simple. Okay.
I have a question on the technical expertise that's applied to this. Is it just flood recovery, or do you have other technical folks that get involved, or do we have to bring them?
It would depend on the project or the issue. We have a bunch of in-house abilities. If we can't, we'll find somebody who can usually. They
Okay.
might be in another federal agency or something, or we can reach into the state and find somebody. If we're in the private sector, it's a little harder. I mean, I'd have to rely on you to tell me who that would be. If you have a hydrologist that you like or something like that.
So it's more than just a flood recovery plan, I'm
Absolutely.
gathering.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a vision for the future, basically, what it sounds like. All right, well, we should put a discussion of forming a committee on the next agenda.
And it should certainly connect with the planning commission in a big way.
Yeah.
The planning commission's very, very busy with a number of other items, but that's really what the planning commission should be doing, is that kind of planning long term.
Yeah, I would think planning commission members, at least us, one select board member, if not two, and do the housing commission, we've got something from there.
Yep.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is the highlighted, community planning, housing, health and social service. Like
Yeah.
each of those buckets, if there's someone, even if it's the same person who maybe is involved in two different things, but making sure that there's someone
Yep.
on that committee from each of those kind of categories.
Maybe a representative from Neighborhood Connections, but that would be a bad idea.
You can nail it down for next meeting.
Yep.
Discussion.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We will get our committee started
Yeah.
as soon as we can.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the whole thing. And we'll email and if you want us to be at any meetings or available for anything, certainly is easier for me to get to things. But just let us know. We will make ourselves available either in person or virtually for any meeting along the way.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, sounds like we got our work ahead of us. Any other visitors and concerned citizens? Do you have a plan?
It's more of an announcement, but the Friends of the West River Trail, the Londonderry Arts and Historic Society, and the Western Historic Society are are in the middle of a Vermont film series. And this Thursday at the depot in Southbury, right here, is where the rivers run north with Rip Torrey. So at 7 o'clock, free. We plan to provide drinks anyway, if not snacks.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trevor?
Yeah, just want to touch base on something I had brought to you guys' attention last year, and it might be just a little pet peeve in my world, but the salt shed. We discussed this last year, we couldn't do it because we were way too busy. Part was covering the other entrance, and it's still wide open, it's still paying almost $90 a ton, no wind and rain and snow blowing right through it. Just curious what the excuse is.
I think that's one that just seems to slip through the cracks a lot.
And it does, and the taxpayer should know, you're paying almost $90 a ton. I've given you guys a year to look into it, and last year was a flood. All right, fine, I'll buy that, but it's been a full year now, probably even a little over. Just kind of curious on what the status is on that.
I
have
think it's
discussed it
something that
some.
we just need to put together a scope of work and
Yeah.
put it out to bid. I mean,
You're talking, you're a builder, Taylor, you're talking like $500. Power, some 2x4s, just to get you through the year.
I mean, yeah, for $500, I don't know if you could get
I
all of
just-
that done, but
you understand my
Right,
concern.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I came to you guys last year with it, and I just went and looked at it because I was curious. And it's still an open hole, and for the people here and sitting at home that don't know, you're paying almost $90 a ton for that salt, and salt does not like moisture. So you're wasting money at the end of the day, so. The second thing I'd like to talk about is the paving. Shane was so nicely to bring up, when you rise it now, all of a sudden, we're gonna change a culvert on a road that you guys just paved this fall. Who made the decision to pave the road knowing the road is not ready to be paved?
The road needed to be paved, it's just, we don't have the money to do the culvert at the moment, and we're trying to figure out sources for funding, and
So
that'll
next summer,
probably be
you're
years.
going out there and patching the hole again, because you've been patching that hole for however many years now.
Might have to.
So that's okay, just to pave the road because we can?
No, it's just that it needed to be paved. But
Who made that decision?
who made that decision? Our road foreman came with his recommendations, and we agreed with him.
well, we also have, our engineer put together a list of all of our roads and priorities, and the projects are spelled out on that, and we pick from a list each year.
So an engineer okayed that road to be paved? I'd be questioning your engineer at that point,
I'm not saying that he told us to do it. He gave us a list of things that need to be done, and when we make selections every year from the list of things that he described, the condition of
why
them.
is he hired an engineer? Just out of curiosity, just asking, I mean.
Because
You're paying an engineer and he's going in and paving over culverts, so you're obviously.
he's not doing it on his own. The document that he prepared for us gives us information that we need to make the decisions at this level. He's not doing it for us. It's just,
He gave us a paving schedule. He looked at all our paved roads and went through them and gave us a paving schedule of what we should do and when we should do
So a
it.
road like Spring Hill Road that hasn't been paved in about 20 years, he didn't think that was something.
it's on the list. I
Okay,
mean,
well, I'm getting it all out there, I mean.
The paving plan that we did, it's a 15-year paving plan, I believe it is, was for the real major projects, not the individual, small paving projects that were done this year. It's like Landgrove Road, which is coming in a year or so.
Which has been done twice in the last 15 years, by the way.
we're doing a full
Segment.
reconstruction of it. We've got V-Trans Structures grants, and we're right now in engineering, and one of the questions that came up is, do we want to take care of all the culverts before we do it?
And I would hope the answer would be yes. I mean,
We've asked our
that's-
engineer to give us a price for designing the reconstruction with and without the culverts.
So I'm kind of confused on what the engineer is trying to do here, because it all comes down to the contractor at the end of the day.
We
Right.
can discuss
Is
that
he,
another time.
is he doing the work? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, why is there an engineer involved? Because at the end of the day, the town, the road crew should be going out and assessing the
The
road.
engineers helps us put the specification together so we know exactly what we gotta do. I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to stuff like that. I'm gonna rely on someone who we worked with for years.
So this is your decision to go
I'm
to
part of the
subdivision.
decision-making process to select.
Why is
board,
that?
Because I'm only a town administrator, I'm not a town manager, so the
Correct.
decision I make
So that should be their decision.
requires
It
the
is.
authority of the select board.
Okay, that's
And
what
so-
you said.
We did put a plan together a few years ago, which needs to be revisited every 5 years or so anyway, which would be good planning. But on this, individual projects like we went out to bid this year, we're not included in that larger plan. It's more of a capital planning effort. But Spring Hill Road is on that for like 5 years out, or something like that.
Still another 5 more years before you're
I
going to
don't,
road.
I haven't looked at that
I know,
plan in
just-
a long time, so I'm just.
Because I've been
I'm
around
just
as
guessing.
long as these guys have, and it's been, and Spring Hill, just because it's close to my house, it's been all 20 years. It's me right to death.
Right, we do have
You
a
know,
Boulevard
when
project.
you're going back up to Land Grove Road, that's, I guarantee it's within the last 10 years had a full
We do have
depth.
an $800,000 culvert project that's happening on Spring Hill. Road.
Oh, you want to, yeah, we can talk about that one too, because that was another real good one. So you guys went through and had a flood last year, replaced it with a culvert that was already there that has to be upsized.
We were required to do that, yeah.
We were required. You couldn't close the road?
Sorry?
You couldn't close the road?
We
Until you
did
had
close
the
the
proper funding?
It would have been closed for 2 years if we did that?
Yeah, FEMA
We
requires.
replaced
Well, the reason I ask is because you've had to repair it once since the flood. You've had to repair it once since the flood. And it's falling in again.
If I can answer, FEMA requires you to replace it in kind unless you're able to get a larger approval, which they've only allowed us to do one in the community, which is Reinhardt Road. So we had to replace it with the same size pipe. We were required to, if we wanted to get any reimbursement.
And that was funded 80% at least by FEMA?
Eventually it'll be at least 90%.
That,
Right, and they paid for the upgrade.
it wasn't an
Right.
upgrade,
They
it
paid
was
for
the
the
same.
replacement.
Right, I know, but they will pay for the, will pay for the upgrade.
No, they won't.
It's
'cause
not a,
They won't
no.
because it already had federal funds attached to it, so
Yeah,
they
we
would
tried.
not give us any funding to upsize to a bigger
Okay,
culvert.
well, it's the same question, it's still going down the same rabbit hole here, we're fixing stuff 2 or 3 times. And I'm just curious on what the theory is behind it.
Well, I just took this theory behind.
Right, I mean,
That
just-
one,
but
if
the
you want to
people
answer,
that
I'll
don't
give it to
know,
you.
Shane, the people that don't know, just see a hole developing in a brand new piece of blacktop. They don't understand it. You know, it's a waste of money at the end of the day.
Thing is, it could be 5, 10 years before we even have funds to replace that culvert on that road. So we had to fix it.
Yeah, we, as
That's the
I
simple
reported
fact.
earlier, we didn't get a $175,000 grant that we applied for that. But we still have another grant application and we may or may not get it. We have no idea. And if it
So you're waiting
does,
on, no matter what, you're just gonna wait on grants.
We have to.
You have to.
well, we,
Well, no, I mean, Shane, I'm just asking questions, Shane, I'm a taxpayer, I'm allowed to ask
It's
questions.
either that or we add $800,000 to the budget at least. So we
Yeah.
kinda have to wait on grants.
I'm just asking
Yeah.
questions, Tom.
Spring Hill Road culvert, we received $475,000 worth of grants for that project alone. And so, you know, we're at least almost, well, more than cutting that project cost in half. So we're doing what we can. We're trying to gather money wherever we can. And we've got another grant I'm waiting for right now for $500,000, which I think will be for this building in the town office. So we're plugging away at grants to try to keep your taxes as low as possible.
I
So
appreciate it.
necessary infrastructure.
Absolutely appreciate that. And after the last meeting I was here, we were talking about taxes. I mean,
And I can guarantee you, Spring Hill Road, we tried. many times to FEMA to get that replaced with a box culvert, because that's what the HEH study says, but they won't do it because they already had federal funds attached to it.
That's unfortunate. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
And it's going from a 6-foot pipe to a 22-foot box culvert, and the price of that 22-foot box culvert is roughly $250,000.
your prices probably aren't too far off. Probably not 220 days.
With a 6-month delivery.
With that?
With a 6-month.
Yes,
out
this summer
delivery.
was not the summer yet. Because of the flood. But, no, I mean, just little things. I mean, I got a bunch more stuff that I'm not gonna bore everybody with tonight. Just appreciate the time to be heard.
I think one important thing to mention about the engineering that we got done to guide us through, some of these bigger capital projects. The biggest thing is it puts us on track to actually accomplish the required paving. Our budgeting for probably the last 20 years was not enough. And so it basically sets us on a course that increases our funding or budgeting every year so that we can actually do the projects that need to be done. So.
Do you have it locked up in a reserve fund, or is it just a yearly?
No reserve.
Reserve fund. We've increased by $40,000 for like a 5-year
Only
period.
40?
Every year, we're increasing that amount by 40,000.
So what are you up to now?
Three
Something.
I think it's
That's
up,
not a bad number.
it'll be up to 300, I think.
I think we're aiming,
All right.
I was just
we're
gonna-
aiming for around 500,000, I believe.
600.
And you got 20, 25 miles of blacktop? You
Yeah,
got about 20 to 25 miles of blacktop?
27 maybe?
And we
Right.
did, again, the next big project is Langgrove Road. We did successfully get 175,000 in grant funding on that already. So,
And that's all over.
culvert and reconstruction.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Anyone else?
That's right.
Tom, I misspoke, too busy lately. The movie is a week from Thursday on November 14th, 7 o'clock at the depot where the river runs north.
Thank you. Any other visitors and concerned citizens? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. Item 7, town official business. 7A, zoning administrator, consider proposed interim zoning bylaw amendment.
All right, the idea here is in the plaza, the bylaws say you can only have an 8-foot square sign, which is pretty small. And most of the signs in the plaza are bigger than that. Either they were before the zoning rule, but I think a lot of them were just issued in error. And some of the newer tenants are unhappy with having to have an 8-foot square sign when other people have a 20-foot square sign. Other than getting the bylaws done, the only other solution is an interim bylaw. The first time I ever heard about interim bylaw was Baba Louie's in Chester. They passed an interim bylaw to extend how long a non-conforming use can be unoccupied. They changed it from 2 to 5 years. I've looked at some other towns that have done interim bylaws. If you read the text of the statute, it sounds like it's for emergency uses. And one of the emergency uses is people use it to change flood bylaws. But Williston did one to protect their agricultural district, which is not life and death. Waitsfield did one to prevent development over 1,700 feet. And I haven't looked at every single one that has passed. I just looked at what I could find on the internet. So the suggested, I have it here. Yes. No, I don't have it. But my suggestion was to change the zoning bylaws so stores in the plaza can have the same signs as anyone else in any other commercial district, which is 2 20-foot square signs. And that thank you. You're like my right hand. Didn't I lose the same thing the last meeting? Okay. So what I'm recommending is, section 418E, specific standards. The following signs are permitted when located on premise for use as specified. 2 separate business signs not to exceed 20 square feet in area, not more than one of which shall be freestanding sign or shall be located within 25 feet of the traveled portion of the highway. Roof signs are permitted. I changed roof signs to 20 square feet since that's what all older signs in the plaza are. And I took out the section which says roof signs must be placed halfway up the roof because all the signs in the plaza are on top of the roof. And then there's one other section that would need changing. That was 418E4. 418E5 is the rules for mixed uses, including shopping centers and industrial parks. So in that, I would just take out, I would just make it so you can have one freestanding sign for a shopping plaza located near the principal entrance and not to exceed 24 square feet in total area unless permitted on site plan review. And I would remove, in addition, each individual business is allowed to have one protecting sign not to exceed 8 square feet in area announcing the business establishment. So what that would do would mean the stores in the plaza could have the same signs as the stores in every other commercial district. And I think it's no-brainer except for the state statute. Can you find my, no. The state statute sort of implies that it's for emergencies. I think it's down in the printer downstairs.
It says that in the, on page 17.
Yep.
Under section 4415A, I think it is. To protect the health. After a public hearing, upon public notice as an emergency measure, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. In the middle of page.
But there's also the
17.
section about for the growth, economic growth.
Right.
Can you put your finger on that?
Yeah, that's right. It's
Right
in
before.
A. It's about the second sentence or something.
The legislative body may adopt interim bylaws regulating land development in all or part of a municipality in order to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, and to provide for orderly physical and economic growth. So you think orderly and physical economic growth, I imagine?
So if you're not convinced the statute is for this sort of thing, the way Chester used it, I can do some more research and talk to the town council. But I think it's a problem that it would be nice to fix before the entire bylaw passes.
It seems like something that fits in there, but I don't see a problem. I think it's always good to ask town council get his opinion on it.
All right.
Then we have
So
to have
why
a
don't I do
public
that and
hearing.
Get back to you and then,
We have to schedule a public hearing, which, what, you gotta warn that 15 days in advance? Is that what it said in there?
Yeah, 15 days, but in order to make the newspaper,
Yeah.
you have to start a week, send them a notice on a Friday for a Wednesday
Yeah.
publication.
usually ends up being like a month in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
All said and done.
yeah, so get the town council's opinion and then we can move from there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll, at the next meeting, maybe?
But I would, yeah, but I would say, it makes logical sense to have them have the same rules as everybody else, other business in town. All right, Moving on to item 8, transfer station solid waste management. 8A's updates. I don't have any updates at this time. Moving on to item 9, roads and bridges. 9A's updates.
I was just gonna read some updates from Josh about the truck they're still promising it was supposed to be by the end of the day today. I cannot confirm that. Fuel was 632 gallons for equipment, 4 gallons for the Parks Department, being kept separate. I don't really have anything else specific either, I guess.
Moving on to item 10, old business. 10A, town office renovation project. Request interim funding from Cemetery Commission.
I'm in the process, actually, I was at a webinar today with the Vermont Bond Bank, and I have an application that we're submitting to the bond bank pursuant to the 2023 town meeting, I think it was, where the voters gave authority for up to $1.3 million. The project's $1.8 million, so we've got a $500,000 gap. That's why we're looking for grants, and also we have, the board has already discussed using some of the reserve funds. But during the construction process, we need to have interim funding, construction loan funding, and we could go out to the private market. But my understanding is over the past years, we've also borrowed internally through the cemetery fund. And I'm assuming that the Cemetery Commission would want an official request coming from the Select Board to initiate that, and that's what we're here for. And so I think the board is only is able to, you can borrow for up to a year without voter approval, or for highway projects, I think it's 5 years without voter approval. But so the thought would be to seek approval to, for 1 year term for a loan of mutually acceptable terms, insofar as rate and that sort of thing. We are starting to incur costs, and we're at our third payment in the payables. Tonight was one of roughly $150,000, and they're going to start coming. We need to pay it.
Anything from the Cemetery Commission?
We both are on the cemetery. So how much are you thinking that you want in a loan?
Sounded like about 500,000.
Well, no, I mean, we got to pay. Tina's not here for good reasons. She's going to be busy as me tomorrow. But we're covering this right now with our internal reserve funds. But we're going to need $1.8 million. I mean, that's the safe number for me. We may need less, but I would look to see. What's that?
Could you repeat the amount?
1.8 million. That's our project cost right now.
Yeah.
And to me, to be safe, that's what we should be looking at. We may not need to borrow the whole shebang, or we could do it in increments.
Right.
Well, we do have, roughly $200 and something thousand in the reserve fund.
Yeah, at least.
So we could take that off of there.
Yeah, well, I think we're using that now.
Yeah.
But eventually, we're going to have to, we could make it 1.5. We could just have a different number. But my sense is our number is 1.8, and we could figure out what it is and come back another time as well.
So you think that over the course of the year, your grants will come in to cover the 1.8 million?
Yeah, on the agenda tonight is to talk about what's called the MERP grant.
Yeah.
That's a $500,000 grant that we were supposed to hear about on Friday, actually, and the Friday before that. Keep putting it off. Lion's share of that money, roughly a little less than $400,000, will be for that building, and the rest will be for this building. And then we have reserve funds, and we're going to continue to seek funding. We are putting in a lift and a ramp, so there's Americans with Disabilities grants available. You know, we conduct elections there, so part of my job is to keep pounding the pavement for funds to get keep down what we need to raise.
So does this essentially, I'm just trying to say it in a way that makes sense
Construction
to me.
loan.
What's that?
We're looking for a construction loan.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Basically, it's cash flow throughout a project, and then you secure your long-term solution at the end of that term, which would be during construction.
So I was able to pull out the paperwork, the promissory notes that the town provided to us when you borrowed in the past for the salt shed,
Yep.
for, the fire department took a loan from us at one point. And we've had actual dates where you were gonna pay back a certain portion of the amount that's owed. So we're not waiting the whole year for the 1.8 million to be paid back, but it's paid in increments over that year. And the other thing I'd like to say is that at one point, we worked with the town lawyer, and we had to charge you interest. We couldn't undermine
That's
what
expected.
the banks were getting.
Yep.
You know, we don't require as much collateral, I guess, as a bank does, but we're not allowed by law to charge you less interest. So we'd have to find out what the going interest rate is for a construction loan.
Right, there was no expectation that we wouldn't be paying whatever the required amount would be, so
Right.
but it's just, in many ways, easier to deal with it internally than to deal with the bank. But again, the bond bank applications are due in December, mine will be in next week, but it's a spring sale, is what they call it, and that'll be March, April, when money will be available. That's also about, in April is when the project is supposed to wrap up. So we're talking about early spring. And I don't know the mechanics of how you execute and draw down the funds directly, but that's why I was in this webinar today, to figure some of those details out. But we're looking at the spring to bring in at least the 1.3 million, and then it'd be the balance that we would need to bring in.
And we also need to get the trustees of public funds involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, but again, it's not gonna come out of, it's not gonna happen until the select board
Right.
makes that request.
Great.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to sell some of our assets, some of our mutual
Investments.
funds or stocks to be able to supply that amount of money. I mean, we have some that's, you know, if it was 500,000, we might have it in our money market, but we don't have that kind of money
Liquid.
readily available, so it has to get sold. So we do have to bring in,
We do.
yeah.
We have 2 million available.
Right, available now, not tied up in mutual
Right.
funds or
So moved.
stocks? Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
okay.
Just said so
I
moved.
didn't go to the
Every
last
act-
meeting, so I don't know. Okay,
There is funds, yeah.
So there is funds available without selling? Is that what you're saying?
We'll have to talk to the treasurer.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah, I just wanted to get the ball rolling. This is just the initial step, and it would be an iterative process that we go through and we figure something out.
Well, if anyone would like to make the motion, we can get it started.
Well, just a quick question. Shane, you said that you don't, if you do borrow money for up to a year, you don't need the taxpayer's permission?
Correct.
How does that get paid back then? Where does that money come from to pay that loan off?
The bond bank, we did get approval for $1.3 million from the voters 2 years ago, whatever it is. And
So you're
we-
5 short.
Yes, and so we know that we have funds in our reserve fund, several $100,000 there. We prefer not to deal with that, that's why we're going for grants as well. And so-
Right, I understand, but my question is, how's that gonna get paid back within a year, after you already have a budget that's already set?
Well, it's kind of outside the budget.
The budget's not set anyway for next year, but The 1.3 million's coming from the bond bank.
Right.
We have almost 300,000, I believe, in the building reserve fund.
Right.
And
Which will
then-
go up again in March.
Yes,
Right, but my question
and
is,
hopefully, we'll get about.
so you're gonna let the
300
taxpayers know that you're gonna be doing this at some point?
Well, I think
I
the
don't
point,
know by formally requesting the money at this meeting.
Okay, no, I'm just
Yeah,
curious. I
and
mean,
the
it's
taxpayers
just a
know
big-
that it's 1.3.
And then it's basically 1 cent on the tax rate per 100, right? Within, not gonna split hairs, but, so you're talking about 3 cents on the tax rates coming from somewhere. If you're doing 300,000.
Well, if we get grants and we go to the reserve fund, funds we already have, it's nothing in addition, other than to pay down the bond of a 30-year period. That's not unexpected.
No, I just curious what I want to do.
I didn't know much. I thought it was a bunch of.
Well, if anyone would like to get the ball rolling and make that formal request.
I move to formally request interim funding for the town office renovation project, construction-related expenses from the Cemetery Commission's cemetery funds at mutually agreeable rate of interest for a term of less than 1 year.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I assume we'll get them an official letter. Or,
Do you need a letter? Well, it'll be in the minutes. And whatever you guys need, we'll do.
Okay.
Just let me know. Happy to help out.
thank you.
Well, I had originally sent to you an email. I'll respond to that and saying last night the board voted as follows. And then it would certainly be Tina who needs to play a pivotal role in the whole thing.
Right.
So maybe she could do the organization, take the organizational steps to work it through.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Moving on to 10B, discuss municipal energy resilience program. Mert.
Well, this is the grant that we're trying to get, and we were originally told they would make announcements a week and a half ago. That didn't happen. Then we were told they were going to definitely make a decision this past Friday. That didn't happen. I was privy to some internal emails from between the state and some regional planning commissions, and they'll get to us as soon as they can. But, you know, they've been promising it every Friday. Anyway, as I had mentioned earlier, I applied for grants at just a hair under $500,000. And I think we're going to get it for the town office. I really do, because it's an easy project, because we hit all of the elements for which they're funding, and it's something that's in process. They're going to be able to say, yeah, we got this project done and within 6 months. So it's a real winner of a project for them. Hopefully we'll get money for this one as well, and it's really for buttoning up the building. We have had this building blower door tested, and it's the loosest building they've ever recorded, is what they said.
And what do we apply for? Windows and I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah, there's a
Weatherproofing or something?
yeah,
downstairs?
the floor, it's a dirt floor underneath the
Vapor
crawl
barrier.
space here. And we would be looking to put some membrane down and some dehumidification systems as well. So yeah, that's maybe some windows, we'll see.
Lots of fresh air.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to be able to do is, because their time frame is so late, and they were having a deadline for signing paperwork to get the ball rolling, I wanted to get, if possible, pre-approval from the board to sign the state documents in case we get lucky enough to get these grants. They wouldn't be negotiable. State's going to give you the grant agreement, and they have a standard agreement that they give to you anyway. So I was hoping to get pre-approval from the board so we can act quickly and get whatever funding we can.
Sounds like a good idea to me. Anyone care to make that motion?
Sure. I move to authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary to accept grant funds under the municipal energy resilience program that may be forthcoming from the state of Vermont. The town administrator shall report any such grant agreements to the board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
10C, FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, pre-application amendment, buyout for 74 Main Street. Are they gonna be here?
Bear with me one second when I get to that.
Where is that?
It's the Chambers.
Just below the
Chambers'
fire
property?
station. Just beyond
Right
the fire
across from my
station.
brother's apartment, the one that got severely damaged in the flood.
Yeah. They had originally requested funding for a elevation of the building. I've shared with the board and shared with not only Chambers, but the others who had expressed interest in getting FEMA hazard mitigation grant funds. We heard back from FEMA, from Vermont Emergency Management, that they had $400 million worth of grant applications for $67 million. And so they had to do a prioritization process, and they said essentially they're not going to fund elevations, they're not going to fund floodproofing projects. One of their priorities is buyout projects. And so I let all the property owners know about this, and these folks at 74 Main have stated they'd like to put in for a buyout. Buyouts are, as you probably know, and I don't know if the audience does know, that what it means is the property is demolished, razed, and the property becomes vacant, town-owned property with deed restrictions preventing any development of the site.
Forever.
Forever. And so it eliminates a flood hazard and a repetitive flood hazard structure. At the same time, it takes property off the grand list. And so it should be carefully discussed and considered, in my view, because it does,
What's your grand list number on that house?
I don't know, but what happens is the buyout are very advantageous this time around for property owners. That they will reimburse at 100% of the pre-disaster value, and they get appraisers out to figure that out. And that's really the only way at this time to kind of reap any kind of value out of your property.
I'm just curious if it was only like $1,000, $1,500 a year in taxes.
Yeah, I just don't know the number.
Let me try to figure it out for you.
It can't be that big of a parcel, right?
No, it's a small parcel, but it's a home, but it's in, not only, it's right on the river, it's in the floodway.
Literally, yeah.
And there's really not much that can be done with it. It's a shame that they're not funding the elevations. That would be something that could work. But, I gave them the option if they wanted to pursue this, and my feeling was, it'd be great. It certainly needs select board authority, because the select board back in August authorized me to apply. The town has to apply on behalf of these folks.
Vermont parcel ID doesn't show me what the taxes would be, but it says the listed real value is $93,300.
Yeah, so you're talking
Not a lot.
$1,500-$1,800 a year in taxes.
Yeah, and I'd like to reiterate what Shane said. It's a real shame the state decided to just go with buyouts. I mean, that's just gonna leave all the properties who were being hit again in the next flood, which we will have at some point. I think flood proofing would have been a better idea to use that money, but I'm not in the state level, so. So I would say I am disappointed as well, and it's not what we wanted to be telling people. But
I did give that same information to the other property owners, all of whom are in the North Village area, and have not heard back from any. One of them said they'll consider that. And again, anything would have to go back to the board. In my view, I'm not going to make a decision that we would go forward with the
definitely
buyout.
might have a chance at some other funding.
Yes.
Does that include the North Village businesses or just residences?
Everything,
Residents?
Well,
business and residents.
There were-
Anyone who put in for the hazard mitigation grant.
yeah, there were several businesses that we did put in pre-applications for, and they've all been notified, as I mentioned.
Quick question. Do you have a sense if the state would ever act as an intermediary to help with elevations at all? Or it's always FEMA?
It's pass-through money. FEMA allocates the money to Vermont Emergency Management. Vermont Emergency Management operates the program. And the way it's structured, and we learned this kind of the hard way through that flat elevation project, it's all funneled through the town. The town has to do all the heavy lifting on it, and it's the town that, if anything goes wrong, is hold the ball in the end. And that, you know, I've been telling the board this all along, it's heavy risk for the town to be involved in these projects.
I heard you a couple weeks ago as well. I just thought with more flooding happening, whether or not the state would get involved as well in some way.
Well, they're involved in that they approve or disapprove projects, and they're the ones when the town has to go out to bid for people, with contractors, and the town has to pay the contractor, then it has to seek reimbursement, and it's just a ton of work.
Yeah.
And we may not get reimbursement if it's not done really precisely. It's just really not a well-structured program.
Maybe the state will do something in the next session, but
All right.
They'd have to
Wouldn't hold your
reinvent their
breath.
own program separately from a federal program, though. What was the difference on what we're calling Aiken's Acre? That was not a buyout, it was actually a state program, right?
it was a state buyout.
A state buyout, right?
Yeah, because FEMA
Still a buyout.
said the flood wall had to go. State said the flood wall couldn't go.
But that same
So it
type of
ended up
thing,
being
that's only a buyout, though. It's not a state-run program that would allow for elevation or
Yeah.
And one of
Other
the things
protections.
about the buyout program is that the state, in fact, is doing that for the buyout projects. Normally, for a buyout, you have to do an evaluation for hazardous materials in the building before it comes down. They'll take care of that. You have to do deed research, they'll do that. So they're doing all the heavy lifting, soft costs and hard costs on the whole project. And that's a great thing in some ways. But again, property comes off the grand list.
And maybe doing this FEMA Community Assistance Program, coming up with that plan might help in the future to find funding for them, the property owners and personal owners who were affected too. It's all we can hope for at this point, unfortunately. All right, well, I think we gotta help them out.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. So,
I mean, I don't know how much helping it is at this point. They've almost redone the whole house. And they're not gonna be anywhere to move, really close by, but it's the only option, unfortunately.
yeah. All right, it's just a motion.
Anyone care to make a motion?
Oh, sure. I thought you were starting, so. I move to amend the board's decision from August 19th, 2024, authorizing submittal of a written expression of interest in application with Vermont Emergency Management's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program for the floodproofing or elevation of the building on property located at 74 Main Street, owned by Andrew and Donna Chambers, to instead authorize the submittal of application documents for the FEMA buyout program.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to 10D, proposed reclassification of a portion of Rest Haven Road, 19 VSA 710 and 711.
I'm just not sure what the board wants to do with this project at this point. Maybe it's premature to bring it up, but the board does have a 60-day period in which to make a decision on the reclassification.
Well, it sounded like from when they were here last, they wanted to keep it the way it was and build a turnaround in there, right?
Yeah. And technically, we reviewed the cemetery's land deed, and it goes 25 feet from the stone steps there to their boundary. And a small portion of the people's land would be on the class 3, but where they actually are proposing to put their driveway is class 4. The turnaround's the only thing that, if we were gonna maintain it, is that what would be needed.
I almost wish Will was here, because I think he was saying that their, and this is a little bit different. There's kind of two separate things here. There's the reclassification of the road, and then there's the road access permit that hinges on that. So, right now, the class 4 section begins with the Stevens property. That was clearly stated by Will, and he has a document, a survey that shows 25 feet from the end of the wall begins their property, which now their application is for an access permit that's not even on their property because it's too close.
Yeah, they'd have to redo their access.
They'd have to redo
It's already
their,
been granted. The access permit was granted by the board.
well, the location has to be adjusted because it wasn't for their, where their property is. The
The map was off, in other words.
The map was off, yes. So regardless of that, I think some of the interest in changing it goes away because it sort of becomes a moot point from the Stevens perspective, because no matter what, their access is going to be on Class 4 road, because we're not even talking about changing.
Yep.
That's already Class 4. So the Class 3 ends before it gets to them. So then, you know, that has been brought up and we've talked about it, and then we have to decide, you know, is there another reason to continue changing it? And I mean, I don't feel strongly, I guess, that based on what people said, you know, people didn't want to change it, but in general, that seemed like the consensus anyway.
Yeah, they
from
did.
the general public.
Yeah, they didn't want to change it, just turn around. And then that was pretty much what they were saying.
The turnaround's the big thing that we would need.
Yeah.
Right.
So the trucks be able to turn around in there.
And
Yeah.
where the library land is, there is that access they have up there, but I don't think it would be enough to turn around the truck.
No,
Probably
and
have to do it on the two property owners there.
I almost felt like if there was a turnaround created opposite a new driveway, you could plow in and then, you know, maybe
Use the
back
driveway
up.
for a hammerhead.
Right. I mean, it would almost be impossible because the road is not wide enough. Just, you know, you'd have to turn around completely off the road essentially because the road, or use the width of the road and then some to complete the turn to be able
Now,
to.
doesn't take eminent domain to put a turnaround in for emergency services?
I don't think we need to in this instance because we have both landowners volunteering space for it.
Yeah.
So
So
you are gonna put a turnaround
that's, I think, if we,
That's the discussion, really.
yeah,
in?
if,
Okay, no, I just,
if
That's
we're
what
gonna
they
take
wanna do.
over if we're gonna do the maintenance to that 100-yard section, we need the turnaround and the
I'm
parties.
sure you're talking about using driveways and stuff. Coming from a plow guy, that's not so much fun.
Right, well, and the driveway would be from an owner that's willing to make it a turnaround, I guess. That was,
Coming from the fire department, and you're gonna wanna get your tankers turned around out there.
Yeah, we're gonna need a turnaround if we ever have anything up there.
Yeah.
So I think that was the consensus of the property owners. That's what they wanted to do.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
I think they would be willing to do it to leave it as a Class 3 road.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
that's pretty much what I got from what they were saying.
Right.
So,
I guess
So no,
somebody's gotta go back to them and we gotta figure out a turnaround, I guess.
We get
Yeah.
Everett to draw up a turnaround somehow?
Now, are they gonna pay for it, or is it town?
well, one of the landowners is building a driveway at the same exact time, so one would likely be taken care of. The one opposite that to the east, I think, would probably be
Town, I would assume.
town.
Yeah. Because the town's gonna be utilizing it, so you don't have to there.
Yep.
We've been getting state funding for the road we're not maintaining.
And I guess design and turnaround, the two fire departments should be consulted as well, maybe even the ambulance.
We did something similar on, or we talked about the one on Parsons Lane. There was a pond built there, and there was a permission given, and I don't, was that ever even built? I don't even know, actually.
No, it wasn't.
I don't think it was.
But there was quite a bit of discussion about how wide it needed to be and how long.
I think
And
it's 50 foot, isn't it? Radius?
Yeah, I think
Sounds
so.
all right.
yeah, and depending on constraints, one side goes up and the other side goes down. So it's like, if we end up using part of the road, you might be able to alter it a little bit, but.
Well, I can tell you, for example, for a turnaround, for like our longest fire truck is 27 feet.
So you need twice that.
You need twice that, so you're gonna need like at least 54 plus.
Yeah.
So, and that's the one, like, say if there was a fire out there, that's the truck that's going in. That's the engine. And I'm sure South Dairy with their big cab one they have there.
Road or four?
Huh?
That road, a 3-rod or 4?
It's neither. It's not
We're
even.
lucky if it's 3.
Yeah.
The
Well,
problem
we
is,
claim 3, but
It's
we claim 3,
resting
but
made up
structurally
by the
it's not.
cemetery.
Yeah.
right. So if you look at there's an overlay on the map that shows the right-of-way, and the right-of-way includes about 4 rows of headstones. So it's like,
Yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
a storage unit on the other side, so you can't really
no.
expand the road.
Yes, I would consult the chiefs of each department at least on the how to
Design.
design, because we would both be using that section.
Yep. All right. Well, I'd say wait until we get contact with the landowners again. Get some design to really make any decision on this, I think.
I would
Yeah,
say that
we
would be-
probably need to mention to them too that, and Josh and I talked about it and remeasured and confirmed.
Yeah, he's got stakes out there now.
Yeah, the stakes, they're not in alignment with where they staked it
No.
for their application, so I think that conversation could segue to the
Yep.
turnaround conversation.
Yep.
All right. And we'll move on now.
So next steps is just for
Connect
the
with the
minute,
landowner and
talk with them.
make sure they understand that where the boundaries are now and discuss a turnaround.
So would we at this time choose to move ahead with the turnarounds and not the reclassification? So we're still going to make a motion on that?
Well, I think we still
portion?
have time
Or
for the reclassification decision, so
no sense
maybe
in
talk to the landowners first and
get a little further down the road
Yeah.
before we do that part.
Yeah.
get a better idea of what they're willing to do and everything.
Because if you do want to go forward, the town attorney would need to write up the order, it's called an order of reclassification. And it's an expense and it's time, so
Yeah, I think we still have
no need to
plenty of
do it
time
right away.
make any decisions.
Right.
All right. Moving on to 10E, town office renovations, consider change orders.
You have documentation from our, bear with me a second, sorry. Yeah, and our contractor on page 28 has a potential change order, and this has to do with horizontal vertical cracks in the foundation. And while the building is apart, now's the time to deal with it. Does come in at roughly just shy of $6,000. It's recommended by both our architect and our project engineer to do it. Now's the time to do it. And, we do, and also, if you look at page 31, these are the different change orders. So there is a lot of stuff that has to happen, but when you have a building pull apart like this is when you're gonna find those things.
Yep.
And it's better to fix them than to ignore them and have come back to haunt you in the future at a much greater expense.
Have they, we've agreed to adjusting these dollar amounts. There's a line on here that they don't seem to make a determination on whether this increases or doesn't change the contract time. Like, are they, when they add money, are they allowing themselves more time to do this extra work too, or are they?
Are you pointing at one in particular, or?
This one that we're looking at right here, there's a line right underneath the dollar amount. It says the contract time will be increased, decreased, or unchanged, and is that?
Zero.
Okay, that column.
They're saying it's unchanged.
They're saying
they're in
it's
there
unchanged.
anyway. It's a contractor who's gonna come in, bang it out while they're doing other things.
Okay, I see that.
That's my understanding of
Yeah,
it.
and they said too that the sooner we give them permission to do it, the better, because I think it was a week from today that they were bringing in concrete to pour the slab.
Right, well, that was the one from last week.
No, that was the one from last week.
Yeah, but now everything's apart, now's the time to address it.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyone care to make that motion?
Sure. I move to authorize a change order for the town office renovation project to address the need to repair foundation cracks at a cost of $5,965 and authorize the town administrator to execute any documents necessary to implement this change order.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just want to report one other thing with that project is they've decided not to pave the driveway this fall. They're going to wait till the spring, as we kind of anticipated to begin with.
Yep.
So it's going to get pretty well beat up, and that's the way it is. So,
Well, it was pretty well beat up before.
yeah, we do need to be mindful of in front of the office trailer. We do get water piling up there, and so we need to be. They did put a piece of concrete there as a kind of a half step to avoid the ponding there, but so we need to stay on top of that.
Yep. All right, moving on to 10F, discuss town administrator job description and recruitment process. Where are we there? 32 to 40.
One of the things I had, John, is, starting on page 32 and 33, that's the existing job description. Page 34, 35, 36, I recommended some changes to, one reason was to keep it consistent with the other job descriptions that we have from a format standpoint. So a lot of the, the stuff in blue is, for the most part, mirrors what we did for the short-term rental administrator. Places where it's different, I've highlighted. One example is on the page 34, it says work hours. It was up to 29 for him. I just threw 35 in there per week. It could be 40, whatever the number is you want to put in, you put in. So that's, and then I also had some recommended changes throughout. Select board is not 2 words, it's one. I don't want to confuse things. But under duties and responsibilities, it says attend select board meetings, prepare agendas, transcribe and distribute minutes. So I'm asking, arrange for the drafting and distribution of minutes so that, we have a person to do that. Those are, little things that are here and there. On page 35 is a bullet that says coordinate and track training of town employees. That's one of my responsibilities, but it's kind of, I don't really have authority over other town employees, so it's kind of hard to do that. Invitation to bid. Anyway, I presume you spent a little time going through this. There's some things that I just,
These
ensure.
highlighted ones.
Say again?
In yellow, the highlighted ones in yellow are ones you think
Yeah, you might want to think about whether or not that's,
Yeah.
I should be doing that or not doing that. I had also shared with you at the previous meeting, job description from the town administrator in Georgia. I think that's worth looking at again. It has some really good things in there. But, you know, one of them, coordinate between all departments to assist with the development of annual budgets. You know, I participate on that, but Tina, you know, mostly does that. Most communities, the town administrator would be doing that, but there's just kind of tradition that we have in a way. Anyway, it's just the thoughts to make it a better document. What we could do is just adopt them all if you want, and then come back and relook at it once the formatting has all been redone. So obviously entirely up to you guys. And we may even want to wait for Martha as well to chime in.
I think the sooner we get this out,
Yeah.
the better. The more time we have to get good qualified candidates.
I don't think we need to wait.
Right. Then just, if you'll indulge me for a second, the page 38, that is the advertisement from the fall of 2018. Yeah, that was in Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Yep.
And so we could just do the same thing. And then going on to the next pages, I reached out to, well, we can advertise on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns for free. This next one is Massachusetts Municipal Association, and they're $150 for the first 100 words. We probably don't want to do more than 100 words. And then with New Hampshire Municipal Association, it's $150 per ad, up to 60 days. So I strongly recommend adding those two to the list, VLCT, and then these municipal associations, because people who are looking for this type of work, that's where they're looking. That's where you go to. You could also do the International City Managers Association. I don't think it's worth doing that myself.
Didn't we talk about doing New York too?
I looked in it, it's not really clear. I think they defer to the ICMA, the International City Managers. I don't think that they do it.
Yep.
I looked.
No, Tom.
Hi, Pamela Spalding. Are there any plans to go to the town manager situation as suggested by the government structural project? And in which case would you add road commissioner experience and tax collector to that list?
No, at this moment there isn't, and it would have to be a town vote to go to town manager anyway, so at this moment, we can't even try to hire a town manager.
These documents are specifically labeled town administrator, not town manager, so it would be a completely different thing.
Yeah, we'd have to get public approval to even go to town manager, so there's no point in trying to hire a town manager at this point. All right. So how about the hours? 35 or?
I think it's proven to be unrealistic to get it done in that
I
amount
don't
of
think I've
time.
ever worked 35 hours a week.
40?
40?
I would go 40.
About 80.
It's a lot.
So
And
it's going to do 40?
Now, is that a salary position?
Yeah.
Will there be overtime compensation?
no overtime.
It's not really based on hours because
I'm
of,
just
yeah.
Because I do know what Jane and I have had our moments for sure, but you've got your plate full.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I work for the same as my administrator. I mean, it's,
What's that?
I work with the same thing when I work with my administrator. I mean, I get emails from her morning and night, 7 days a week.
Yeah, it's pretty much
I give it to you
It's
guys.
7 days a week, pretty much. And
And it's round clock. Anywhere from, I've gotten emails 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's why I ask. I mean, I didn't know.
those ones I put on delivery, so
Oh,
people don't think I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you look good.
So how about the highlighted parts?
I'm good with this one up here on 35, the coordinating track training of town police, because
Leave it or get rid of it?
no, I'm good at leaving it.
Okay.
Because,
Yep.
I mean, he's here every day.
Yep. Work with treasurer.
I mean, they kind of work hand in hand together anyway.
And the issue on that is, and I think it should stay, but one of the issues is that, and this is because Tina is so very busy. She's not able to get the payables done until the afternoon of the meeting sometimes. So I don't have time to look at them. And it's, could be a structural issue that she should be able to get that done if other things could get done. It's just, we're all doing double duty on lots of things. I think my sense is it should stay, but I'm unable to do it because I don't get, I don't get them. And it's no reflection on Tina, she's super. But she's so tied up on things that it's just really hard to do all these.
Well, maybe you leave it with leave it in there, and if anything, if there's ever different people involved, everybody retires and it evolves. I mean, maybe it has to be changed again at another time. I don't know, but
Yeah. It's just good to have another set of eyes looking over these things.
I also think it's good to have a backup person,
Yeah.
something like that.
I think it's probably good to leave it in for that reason, in hopes that there's a way to accomplish it, even though our current situation doesn't really allow for it.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah, I would.
How about the next one, coordinate on the budget?
I think, I mean,
You do attend the meeting.
I attend the meetings, but I'm not coordinating the effort.
No.
And again, in most communities, you do have your town manager, your town administrator coordinating the budget. We don't, and it's just a function of what we've done historically.
right,
I'll-
tradition, like you said.
As you know, I'll do whatever the board wants to do, but, I think Tina's doing double duty with, being a treasurer and frankly, our business director in a way, that it's, she has her hand on cash flow and things like that. I think it's a good idea to have a good discussion on how it really ought to be done on the budgetary.
It may be another thing that in the future, again, same kind of thing, where leaving it in could be setting a goal to, redirect some of those tasks,
Right.
even though it's not that way right now.
I'll find if we can get in.
And the next yellow thing is, we do, there's no real reason to track hire dates and performance reviews, because we're doing those all at one time.
Yeah. That makes sense.
There's
Take
kind of no
that
reason
out.
to have that
I
one.
can scratch that.
Let's see. Graduate college degrees. You got it?
It's fighting me. There we go.
The next thing is just the undergraduate college degree and 5 years of work
Yep.
experience.
With it saying preferred, I don't see any reason.
No, I think it's,
Well, this, that's a change from the other one. The other one said, did not indicate undergraduate degree.
Yep.
So this does recommend that.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
no, I don't either.
And the other one said 2 years of work in a collaborative, which it should, in my view, be 5.
I think more experience, the better.
Yep.
Yep.
And what's this thing here? Task force. That's pretty much the major changes, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm fine with those changes,
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
so.
And I think the town administrator description we can put out here looks fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm good with all these sources that you were listing, put these in.
Yeah, $150 for 60 days is peanuts.
Yeah.
No, it's more of a reach out to see who we can get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if, I didn't do a word count on that one, I could just truncate it to
Okay.
something that works well.
Well,
Sounds good.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes. I move to accept the recommended changes to the job description for the town administrator position.
Second.
Should we add and post it to the,
Yeah, and post it to the,
Mass?
yep.
Massachusetts Municipal Association, and
New Hampshire.
is it the same thing, New Hampshire Municipal?
Yeah.
Yep, so New Hampshire Municipal Association.
All right, right.
And
Post to the
VLCT,
Massachusetts
right?
New Hampshire Municipal.
And VLCT.
NVLC.
NVCLT.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right,
Aye. Perfect.
so get that out there.
Get that out
So
there and
you
start
might
looking.
want to talk also about what the process is going to be. We're going to come in, you know, we're going to get applications in, we're going to get people calling. So there should be someone to, I think you and Martha, we're going to spearhead.
Yeah, we're spearheading that part. So her and I had talked about kind of like January was like the goal to start getting people in for interviews. And February could be like that second round if we find a few that we like, and then hopefully by March have that person selected.
Well, but if we're going to put an advertisement out now, you're going to have applications come in 2 weeks.
I mean, even if we start in December, I'm fine with starting in December. It's just something she had laid out to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could start in December and then work our way, hopefully maybe have it done by January. And then that gives February that time to start transitioning while,
Well, why don't we,
Sounds
we'll
good.
adopt this,
Yep.
or just adopt,
Yep.
well, did you vote? No, you didn't vote. Did you vote?
we voted for
Passed.
the adoption.
And once Martha comes back, we'll have her take a look at this also. And if you want to make any additional changes, you do it at the next meeting, say. And then whenever you guys, shall I just wait for you guys to give me the go-ahead to start the advertising?
Right.
Oh, we just did?
Yeah, we did. We just gave you the go-ahead for the
Oh,
advertising.
all right. So they're going to come in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Maybe December we start the interview, because you're going to be gone for what?
The first week of December.
Because we probably should have all of us here for,
Oh, yeah.
and when are you gone?
I'll be gone the first week. I won't be at the meeting on Monday.
The 1st of December.
Yeah,
So you guys will be back for the second one.
Yep.
yes.
So even if we had, we could start doing it in the second week of, or toward the second meeting in December.
Well, then what I'll do is coordinate with, should they come to me? Should they come to you? Should they come to Martha?
I mean, you're probably gonna be the one that gets the applications. You're gonna see them before we are,
Okay.
I assume, right?
No, I'm happy to do that, and I can, you know, get them and filter them.
Well, if
It's
you-
also always great, and I will insist upon it, that we should respond to whoever sends us something.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, our process will take
Yeah.
some time.
So if you could do that and filter them to Martha and I, then we can start
Yep.
going through that process.
Happy to do that.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Shane.
All right, moving on to 10G. Discuss town website. I don't know if we have anything more to discuss tonight, do we?
Just that Tina and I were kind of tasked with putting together a group, and the folks that we're still waiting to hear from, but we were talking about with Pete Smith, who's our tech guy. He's already looked into some of it. Waiting to hear back from George Mora. Hopefully she would help us out. Heather, hopefully she would be able to help us out as well. We're waiting to hear back from her, and Liam also. And, you know, it's sort of going to slow down for him.
Were we doing one of those two, or are we just doing those four? I can't remember.
We're just going to put together a group, and if anybody else wants to jump in, jump in.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember what we said at the last meeting.
I think there wasn't a vote, it was just, maybe we could look at the minutes, but I think it was just we said Tina and I will put together just a working group. That way it's not an official board or committee, so we can just bounce stuff off each other.
The select board member can always come to any of the meetings anyway.
No, I was just clarifying that, that's all.
Yeah, and the idea would be we would get proposals and then come to the board with recommendations on the proposals.
Yep. Sounds
Okay,
good.
well, I just want to report back, but we are working on it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I'm willing to help out with that also,
Okay.
because I use it a lot. And I actually, last night or the night before, looked at a bunch of companies, so I have some idea of what I like and don't like.
Yeah, I've been looking at different companies that you gave, or the websites that you gave us. I've been going through them as well.
Yeah.
So I might peek my head in on a couple meetings just to
Cool.
take a look.
Yeah, Bruce, I assembled a whole list. I think I distributed at the last meeting
Yeah, I don't think I
of
saw
companies that do this for, this is all they do,
I don't
and
know,
examples.
I don't know if it was in the meeting packet or if it's separate. think it's
I
separate.
handed out a revised version
Yeah.
at the last meeting.
Right.
I don't think I got a copy, but, so if there's a digital one.
Always give one to you.
Yep. All right, moving on to item 11, new business. 11A, Londonderry Housing Commission, appointment to fill new position.
You recall at the last board meeting? the
Yeah,
board,
Mary Ann
created a new position that had been filled by a select board member. We did get this application in today from Mary Ann Morris. Probably all know Mary Ann.
Oh, yeah.
From her work at the Collaborative. So she's expressed an interest. We could wait for other ones or just go with this. Obviously, your decision.
I'm fine with Mary Ann.
I'm fine with her as well.
Anyone can make that motion?
Sure. I move to appoint Mary Ann Morris to the Londonderry Housing Commission for a term extending to June 30th, 2027.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's your turn on the next one.
Who wants the last one?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.